2010, Kobe was asked who was tougher to guard, Kevin Durant or Brandon Roy. Kobe responded with, Roy, 365 days, 7 days a week. Roy has no weaknesses in his.
On July 23, 1984, a future NBA star was born. Brandon Roy, child of Tony and Gina and the youngest of three boys in Seattle, Washington, was destined to be an NBA superstar. After being a six-sport athlete when he was in his youth days, Brandon finally concluded that basketball would be his passion. His freshman and sophomore years, he was a role player at Garfield Academy, but sprouted his junior year, leading Garfield to an undefeated season, and it was more the same during his senior year when Roy continued to dominate. All of this led to Roy deciding he was going to skip college and go straight to the NBA, but he was quickly shut down when he went one-on-one with Boris Diaw, a future NBA starter. This led Roy to rethink his decision and go to college instead, but once again, his plan was put on brakes when he couldn't pass the SAT until his fifth try because of a learning disability that makes his reading comprehension very slow. Nonetheless, he signed his NLI to play at Washington University in the second semester and began playing basketball, getting limited minutes his freshman year. His minutes increased during his sophomore and junior year, but since he was sharing the backcourt with Nate Robinson, he didn't truly get the shine until his senior year, when he averaged 20.2 points per game and led the Huskies to their second straight Sweet 16 appearance. He now entered the draft and was taken 6th overall by the Minnesota Timberwolves, but was quickly traded on draft day to the Portland Trail Blazers, where he started to build a great resume. He was named Rookie of the Year, receiving 127 out of 128 votes due to his 16.8 points, 4.4 rebounds, and 4 assists per game. There was more to come, however, being named an All-Star for the next 3 seasons and an All-Pro.
Houston Rockets now have the Los Angeles Lakers in the second round, and according to Ron Artest, that's actually going to be a little bit easier than facing Brandon Roy. He had some interesting comments about the guy that he just knocked out of the first round.
Roy's probably the best player I've played against. To me, he's the best shooting guard. Not on defense now. His defense is kind of suspect, but he's the best player I played against.
Here's Blake to Roy. This is for the win. Brandon Roy with a 3-3 on the Blazers and beat the Rockets in overtime.
Yes, Roy had plenty of success early in his career, but it was all put to a halt when he had to undergo arthroscopic surgery 3 times in a single season and tore his meniscus, which essentially removed all the cartilage from both of his knees. Doctors informed him he only had 1 to 2 years left.
Rick Kamla, Dennis Scott, Ronnie Thompson, and we right now are covering a basketball tragedy. Brandon Roy, after just 5 years in the NBA, forced to retire, lacking cartilage in both knees. This is just a gigantic bummer as we start the 2011-12 season.
As you would say, it's a buzzkill. Great guy, worked hard. Unfortunately, the injuries shortened his career. Just pretty much one of those things where you pray for him. Hopefully, the next phase of life is better.
The next year, he decided to come back and play for the Minnesota Timberwolves, but it was just a short stint that ended shortly after he first got there. Roy's stats from his first 3 years were only comparable to LeBron James, with 4,500 points, 1,100 rebounds, and 1,000 assists, but this is where it would end. 5 years after leaving the NBA, Brandon Roy decided he wasn't done with basketball as a whole. He decided to pick up the head coaching job at Nathan Hale High School in Seattle, which had only 3 wins the year prior, but Roy got to work. He recruited nationally, picking up eventual #1 recruit in the nation, Michael Porter, and his brother, Jonte. This only made more players from around Washington want to come play for him, and all this exposure led to a 32-0 record in his first year coaching, with wins over Oak Hill and Sierra Canyon High School. Roy was persevering, showing everyone that although basketball may have taken a lot from him, he still had much to give back to the game until the unthinkable happened.
All right, moving on to a more serious situation. Former NBA All-Star Brandon Roy, remember he was on the Portland Trail Blazers for a long time.
Was a huge NBA star, had some injuries that derailed his career, but was a great basketball.
Yeah, bad news for him. He was at a home in Compton, California over the weekend when a gunman pulled up and opened fire on the house. He was shot along with 2 other people, and now cops are on the hunt for the suspects.
Yeah, Evan, apparently gunman just walked up. There weren't words exchanged. Gunman just opened fire. Like you said, all 3 men survived. What we do know is the Division of Police that investigates gang gang activity is investigating the crime. Not entirely sure what happened here. If it was a gang-related incident, that's what they're trying to find out.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Brandon, after his NBA career, he went to Seattle and became a very successful high school basketball coach.
He had one of the best teams in the entire country last year.
Yeah, Nathan Hale High School up in Seattle. He was the head basketball coach. As a matter of fact, just in March, he received the Naismith National High School Coach of the Year award.
Given to the best coach in all of high school basketball.
Yeah, his team was 29-0 during the regular season and won the Washington State title. So he's having a great year up until last weekend when he was shot. Fortunately, he survived his injuries. We were told all 3 men that were shot survived. We're told it was injuries to his leg.
What TMZ failed to mention was that Brandon Roy was shot while shielding children from the gunfire outside his grandmother's house. He would make a full recovery with no real complications. All of this, however, opened Roy's eyes. He decided to step down as head coach from Nathan Hale and instead returned to his alma mater, Garfield Academy, where he's experiencing much of the same success as he had at Nathan Hale, winning his second and third state championship as coach in 2018 and 2019.
Was it tough to leave Nathan Hale?
Yeah, no, it was really tough leaving Nathan Hale because, my plan was to be there, for a while. I had no idea that Ed Haskins would take the Walden job. It wasn't something we talked about. And then, I wanted to, build a tradition there. And, when the job was open, it was just too hard to say no. My entire family went to Garfield, and I lived 5 minutes from there, and everything just seemed to fall in place.
Are you hoping to coach high school for 10, 20 years when you go to the NBA? What's your career hoping to be?
I don't know. I like doing it. I like being home. NBA is a grind, man. That's a real job. But, I really enjoy doing it. This is my second year, and it's different than my first, so I'm still learning. So, I don't know how long
Brandon Roy has been called many things in his life. Disabled, role player, superstar, coach, unlucky. But one thing it would be impossible to call him is a quitter, which can inspire all the young players he continues to coach today.